After about an hour and 20 minutes or so, I drained the coolant, pulled the radiator off, pulled all the hoses off, pulled off the coils, cleared the electrical system out of the way, the clutch cable cover, all that stuff has to come off. Of course, the carburetors. And let me show you what I'm finding so far, because it's disappointing. Literally just pulled the valve cover off. As you can see, I've cleared it all out here, and supposedly you can pull the cylinder head. But obviously I got to pull the cams off so I can pull the cam chain apart, and this is loose. That should not be loose like that. Cam chains, if you know, are very tight once they're all set up. So there's the cam chain tensioner, which is still on there, okay? But as I opened it up, boom, look at that. So that is the cam chain slide or guide, or one of them. And the disappointment continues. What am I gonna do? I've got to pull the cam chain tensioner out, loosen this up, pull the cams out, and these like oil pipes and all these other bits, and see what else I'm gonna discover here. So my goal is to pull the head off and at least be able to get to the cylinder to see what's going on. So like I said, I'm not going to share every little nut and bolt process on this, but I'm going to give you updates at the right time here. So if you like that sort of thing, subscribe. Thanks. Well, I'm continuing to pull things apart, pulled the cams out, and I came across this. So here's the exhaust valves on all of, let's see, cylinder 2, 3, and 4. The retainers have popped out, and you can see, where is it? There's one of them there. There's one there, and then there's a couple there. So the scary part is, if it dropped down into the engine down there, I gotta find that. You don't want loose metal floating around on the inside of the motor. So as you can see, the rest of these are retained. Even the busted up cylinder 3 and 4, these are all retained, so the valves stay up. However, on these guys, the retainers have fallen out. So there's another one right there that you can just see just in front of the valve stem, right on top of the letter E. Right there, that's a valve retainer. That's not supposed to be there. Good news. The good news is I found 8 of the valve spring retainers. The bad news is I needed 12. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Oh boy. Looks like I'm pulling the bottom end of the motor apart. I guess I would be doing that anyway. This project's getting deep, fellas. Okay, a little more fishing around, and I found the other 4 valve spring retainers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, which is the 12 that would have come off of here. So you can see those are supposed to be retained, and they are not. All right, time to pop the head off. So I got all the nuts out. There's a little hidden 10mm down up underneath here. So in theory, I should be able to tap the head, and yeah, that looks like that's coming off. Yep. On to the other side here. Yep. All right. 2-hand job. Oh, I said hand job. That's stupid. So as you can see, I popped the head loose. Unfortunately, this is running into this lug right here. The studs are just a little bit too long. So I may be able to pivot the engine forward to buy a little space. I don't know. Ultimately, the engine's coming out anyway. I did drain the oil out. This was a really clean pan. Made sure it was super clean so I could see any metal shavings. So there's just one little chunk of metal that came out of there. So that's from the, who knows, probably the valve guide bolt or something along those lines. So I'm going to continue to tear it apart here. Drop the motor, which is probably a two-man job, and as you can see, my dog back there, Sammy, is not a lot of help. So anyway, let's press on, kids. Draining the oil, I also pulled out the oil filter, which is actually surprisingly big for a little 400cc bike. And if you don't know, oil goes from the outside, pushes through the filter material back into, so the oil pump will pressurize the outside, push all the gunk and any bits and pieces through the paper. There's a metal core on the inside that keeps it from collapsing, and if this ever clogs, there's a little pressure relief valve here that'll push in. Anyway, there's a little pressure relief valve here. You can see that goes in. So if this plugs up, the oil can still get through. But I'm gonna let this sort of drain down here and clean this mess up, and then I'm gonna cut the filter material out and see if it actually caught any metal in there, just as a way to double check what's going on. My suspicion is when this sucker blew up, it blew up quick and the engine stopped quick. So there really wasn't a lot of time to circulate junk. So more than likely I can open up all the covers, including the very bottom oil pan here. The split on the crankcase is up front right here. That's the crank running through the middle. So anyway, go through all that and empty her out. So basically, I pulled apart all the electrical lines and everything. So I'm about ready to drop the motor out of this sucker, which is probably a two-man job, like I said before. So I'm gonna see if I can do this and not drop it on my feet. All right, I loosened the very bottom engine bolt and pulled this top one out, put it on a lift here, dropping the head down. So now it's clear of these lugs. Let me set up my camera and let's pull the head off, and we'll reveal catastrophic failure at the same time. You and I will discover how effed up this engine is. All right. Oh, baby. Oh, man, we got some chunks. Oh, boy, kids. This is messy. This is messy. Well, there's cylinder number 3. Valves literally turn sideways. Intake and exhaust. You can see where that spark plug was so beat up. This thing must have been going super high revs when it popped. That is one ventilated piston right there. Hunks of metal. I don't know if that's probably valve seat or something. That's not going to work. And the head is equally fried, kids. Look at that. Valve turned sideways. That one's snapped too. Anything that's sticking out is bent. I guarantee it's bent. Yeah, look at that. You can see it's bent. See, that's supposed to be, I can't even pull it out of the bore. There's a bent valve that came out of that hole. So this head is cooked, absolutely cooked. That's not coming back together again. And depending on this situation and what I can find underneath, this project may be significantly stalled. Oh man, let me knock the cylinder off and see what we can see there. Well, I got the engine out. It wasn't too difficult, really. Once you undo the top bolt by using the lift to take tension off that bolt, it pivots right on the bottom, and that gives you enough clearance to pull the head and the cylinder off. But at that point, you might as well pull the whole engine out, which of course I did. Now I need to clean up the cylinders to take a look at the cylinder scoring. I did flop the engine on its side so I can pull the pan off, and right down here, it's chunk of piston right there. So I'm gonna keep I don't know, I'm gonna keep looking at this thing and seeing what's what. If there are chunks of piston, they would have fallen down into this hole here, the number 3 cylinder, and so I'm gonna get everything cleaned up here a little bit, and then get the borescope down there and start poking around and seeing what I can see. I may end up splitting the crankcase in half so I can investigate further, but man, not good news on the Bandit project, I'm afraid. It's the worst news. You know, if you start life with a sense of disappointment, you'll never really be disappointed. You know what I mean? Because things usually end up better, but not today. Today is a bummer. All right, Gen X Gearhead. Catch you later.